Welcome back. We're continuing our journey through the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles.
Today we're looking at Lesson 305. There is a peace that Christ bestows on us.
And for you following along, this lesson really shifts how you might think about peace. We really value hearing from you all. It's been great getting notes and seeing how this material is actually working in your lives day to day.
Yes, thank you for sharing those experiences. And a big welcome to our new listeners and everyone connecting on TikTok. That's at the World Harmony Project.
And remember, if you have a specific situation or a question bubbling up as we discuss this, feel free to send it over. The email is acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
That's acim@theworldharmonyproject.org. We do try to bring your questions into these discussions. Okay, let's dive into the lesson itself. We'll read the text exactly as written.
Lesson 305. There is a peace that Christ bestows on us. Who uses but Christ's vision finds a peace so deep and quiet, undisturbable and wholly changeless that the world contains no counterpart. Comparisons are still before this peace, and all the world departs in silence as this peace envelops it and carries it to truth, no more to be the home of fear. For love has come and healed the world by giving it Christ's peace.
And the prayer. Father, the peace of Christ is given us because it is your will that we be saved. Help us today but to accept your gift and judge it not, for it has come to us to save us from our judgment on ourselves.
That opening line, it really stops the ego mind in its tracks, doesn't it? This peace is described as undisturbable and wholly changeless.
And having no counterpart in the world, that sets up a very clear contrast right away between spiritual peace and the kind of temporary relief we usually chase.
It makes you look at how often we try to find peace through external means. We chase these little moments, right? A quiet hour, maybe a weekend away.
But those aren't lasting. The peace the world offers is always conditional. It depends on things going right. The traffic needs to be smooth, the kids quiet, the bills paid. Maybe your partner acting exactly how you want them to.
Yeah, trying to maintain that kind of peace feels like a full-time job, managing everything and everyone around you.
Because the second something changes externally, that fragile peace just shatters. We might try to buy ourselves some stability, maybe take a vacation, go to a spa, or even use substances to try and numb the noise.
All those efforts show we're trying to control the outside world, hoping it will stop bothering us so we can get some relief, even if it's just for a little while.
And that's the issue this perspective points out. Worldly peace needs constant management because it's based on conditions. It demands you control the externals.
This inner peace, the lesson talks about the holy, changeless kind. It doesn't need any external conditions to be met.
Exactly. It's a state you return to by choice. By remembering it's always present within your mind, totally separate from whatever's happening in the world of form.
And isn't that a relief? Knowing your sanity doesn't depend on other people cooperating or circumstances lining up perfectly.
It takes so much energy to keep blaming the outside world, making others responsible for how we feel inside.
When you see that the disturbance is actually the ego's commentary, the stories you tell yourself about events,
and that you can choose to quiet that commentary, then the control shifts completely back to your own mind.
Moving from that unstable, conditional peace to this internal stability that's freedom. You stop needing to manipulate everything around you.
But the lesson adds another layer here. This peace isn't just a passive feeling you wait for. It's described as the direct result of perception.
That's a key point. If peace comes from sight, it means we're actively participating. The lesson says, who uses but Christ's vision finds a peace. Why the word uses? If peace is a gift, already given, why do we need to use a specific vision to find it? Doesn't using imply effort?
That's a subtle but important distinction. The peace itself is passive. It's the truth of what you are. It takes no effort to create. But the vision, that's the active tool. The tool needed to remove the mental blocks, the judgments, the fears that hide the peace that's already there.
Yeah.
We aren't creating peace by using Christ's vision. We're overriding the ego's automatic way of seeing things, which is always through separation and conflict. The ego defaults to seeing threat. Christ's vision defaults to seeing shared innocence.
We have to actively choose to use that alternative sight because the ego's habit, its default way of seeing, is so ingrained.
Using the vision means actively choosing not to fall into blaming God or the world or other people when you feel disturbed.
And realizing that feeling of being punished or deprived or attacked, that's just the ego projecting its interpretation onto reality.
Yes. That feeling of disturbance is like an immediate alarm bell telling you, you've put your own judgments in front of Christ's vision. You've obscured the peace yourself.
The using is the act of choosing against that self-attack, against that ego interpretation.
Let's bring this down to earth. Think about those small, everyday frictions that can drive you crazy.
Ah, yes. The roommate or partner situation. You feel personally attacked over something seemingly minor.
Like maybe your partner always finishes the coffee or the bread or whatever it is and never thinks to replace it.
And you interpret that as blatant disrespect or thoughtlessness, and you start building a case inside your head about the injustice of it all.
Right. The ego instantly translates that empty coffee pot into, I'm not valued, my needs don't matter. The upset isn't about the coffee itself.
It's in your mind, where you've attached this whole story, this meaning of being victimized, onto a simple, neutral fact. Your partner's action, or lack of action, is just form.
Applying Christ's vision here is the deliberate refusal to buy into that attack narrative. You choose not to hold on to the judgment.
Now, this doesn't mean you don't communicate or address the practical issue. You probably should.
Of course, but the approach matters. Finding a self-honoring solution guarantees your peace without needing to make your partner the villain.
So maybe that looks like getting your own special coffee stash, or having separate breakfast items. You address the practical form of the problem.
But the content has to be handled with peace. You take that practical action, whatever it is, without the ego's running commentary about how unfair everything is.
You're meeting your own need because you recognize your own worth, not as an act of rebellion against someone you've decided is oppressing you with their coffee habits.
See how the whole energy shifts. It goes from simmering resentment or passive aggression to proactive self-care. And it's all guided by the intention to maintain that inner, changeless peace.
That shows the difference between just trying to fix the external situation versus choosing your inner guide first.
And when you make that internal shift in perception, the lesson says something profound happens to the world itself. All the world departs in silence as this peace envelops it.
That imagery is striking. Initially, you might picture everything physically vanishing, all the problems just disappearing.
It's more subtle than that. What does it mean for the world, which includes our grievances, the traffic jams, the difficult people, the money worries, to depart in silence?
Those things dissolving.
Exactly. Since the ego mind invented the world of problems and grievances, the same mind has the ability to dissolve its perceived effect. The forms might still be there, the noisy street, the difficult conversation, but the judgment, the fear, the sense of attack, that is what gets silenced.
So it's like you could be sitting on a bench on a busy city sidewalk, watching all the rushing, the anxiety, maybe the anger in people's faces.
But you can observe it without getting pulled into it internally. You notice your own mind's automatic reactions, maybe annoyance or fear or disgust, but you see them neutrally.
And you realize you're free to choose your inner response. That allows you to find peace in any situation, even the challenging ones.
That ability to observe the chaos without internal participation, that's how fear loses its grip. Fear absolutely depends on you believing the ego's story, that the external thing is a genuine threat with the power to dictate your inner state.
Remove the interpretation, remove the story.
And the world's power over you just dissolves. It departs in silence.
I went through something like this quite intensely a while back, dealing with job loss and serious financial stress. Rent was late. Eviction felt possible. And I was caught in this loop of anxiety and deep shame. I felt like a failure as a person, spending so much energy trying to manage how my landlord saw me.
That's fertile ground for the ego, isn't it? Making scarcity feel like a personal moral failing, convincing you you're somehow uniquely inadequate because of the situation.
It was truly draining, but applying this different vision, Christ's vision, meant I had to redefine it. Okay, the rent, it's a business transaction, neutral. my employment status, a temporary market condition, not a reflection of my eternal worth.
So you separated the form from the content.
Yes. And when I stopped judging myself as inferior or shameful because of it, the internal pressure just lifted. I realized my only job was to do what was practically necessary. Communicate with the landlord, pay the late fee when I could, keep looking for work.
And notice the external problem, the late rent, didn't magically disappear overnight.
No, it didn't.
But the suffering about the problem did. Releasing the judgment against yourself and the situation created that peaceful difference. You were then free to handle the practicalities from a mind that wasn't drowning in the ego's drama.
That, for me, is what it means for the world to depart in silence. The interpretation that caused the pain was withdrawn.
Which circles back to the lesson's core promise. Peace is guaranteed. It's always available. So if it's always here, what's the only thing stopping us from experiencing it?
The prayer gives the answer. Acceptance.
It sounds almost too simple. We don't have to earn peace or create it or find it or even ask for it in the usual sense.
We just have to remember it's already present and then accept it.
That understanding puts all the power back in your hands. If you're not feeling peaceful, there's no one and nothing outside to blame. It simply means you're choosing against the reality of peace that's already within you.
And that choice against reality, that's our resistance. The lesson connects this resistance directly to our judgments. Judgments on ourselves, judgments on the world.
It's usually not some big dramatic refusal. The resistance is subtle. We build these elaborate justifications for holding on to conflict.
The ego convinces us that our right to be angry or upset are somehow more valuable or justified than peace.
That's the challenge, isn't it? We reject the gift of peace every single time we choose fear instead, or superiority, or anger, every time we put our faith in external things, idols, instead of the peace within.
We don't consciously say, I choose misery today. Instead, we cling tightly to the reasons we feel justified in being angry. We hold on to the story of being wronged. We buy into the belief in scarcity.
We basically prefer the ego's constant noise over the quiet presence of the spirit. We think letting go of the anger means we're condoning whatever happened, or that we don't care about injustice.
The ego tells you anger is proof you care, proof you're fighting the good fight. Choosing silence can feel like giving up, like being passive or compliant.
And that subtle insistence on being right about how unfair the world is, even if it costs us our own serenity, that is the rejection of the gift of peace.
This choosing becomes incredibly hard when the outside situation feels genuinely awful, viscerally unpleasant.
That's when the theory gets tested. We received a message from a listener that describes exactly this kind of situation, one that pushes the boundaries of choosing peace when faced with something truly difficult and, frankly, disgusting.
Let's tackle that challenge directly. It's such a real-world example of feeling drained and stuck, and it's a perfect scenario for applying this lesson.
Okay, this listener writes, I'm living with a roommate who's unbelievably messy. Their dog even poops inside sometimes, and the smell is awful. They refuse to clean, saying they'll do it when they feel like it. I can't afford to move, and I'm honestly losing my mind. I know this perspective says the problem isn't out there, but how am I supposed to get to peace when I'm surrounded by this every day? It's one thing to say forgiveness brings peace, but how do you actually do that when the situation feels disgusting and unfair?
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one. A perfect spiritual workout room, though. The first reaction, disgust, anger, feeling trapped, totally understandable. We're not denying that initial human response.
But the invitation here is always to notice what the intensity of your reaction reveals about your thinking.
It requires separating the form from the content again. The mess, the smell, the dog accident, that's the physical reality, the form.
The suffering, though, that comes from the thoughts about what the mess means. They don't respect me. I'm stuck. This is intolerable. I deserve better. That's the content, and it exists only in your mind.
The ego grabs the physical situation and turns it into evidence of a personal attack. This filth proves how unfairly I'm treated.
Forgiveness, in this context, starts the second you pause and catch yourself doing that. You don't pretend the mess isn't there. You just notice the mental link you've made. Okay, I'm not really upset because of the floor. I'm upset because I've decided my peace depends on my roommate changing their behavior.
And from that pause, that little space, you can genuinely ask for help from within. Holy Spirit, or whatever name you use, show me another way to see this.
That request isn't about magically making the roommate clean up. It's about freeing your mind from the belief that your inner well-being is held hostage by their actions.
When you withdraw the judgment, this person is awful, I'm trapped, the situation transforms. It stops being a personal battle and becomes a logistical problem needing a clear, non-reactive solution.
And that clarity allows for practical steps. Maybe you clean your own area rigorously. Maybe you invest in air fresheners. Maybe you start seriously looking for alternative living situations, even if it seems impossible right now.
The key is the intention behind the action. Are you cleaning out of martyrdom, thinking, look at poor me, suffering because of this horrible person?
If it feels resentful, then it's not coming from a place of peace. It's reinforcing the ego story of victimhood.
But if cleaning your space feels light, like a self-honoring choice, I deserve a clean space, and I'll create it for myself right here, right now, regardless of their choices, then it's an act aligned with peace. Same action, completely different inner source.
So forgiveness here doesn't mean you suddenly love the mess or excuse the behavior. It means you remember who you are, a being whose peace is inherent, while you decide on the necessary practical steps.
You find that place in your mind where your peace is absolutely non-negotiable, regardless of external conditions.
And because this isn't a one-time fix, that irritation is going to flare up again the next time you encounter the mess. That's where the practice lines become crucial anchors.
You bring them right into that messy room with you internally. Peace is my only function here.
Nothing my brother does can change what I am.
These aren't magical spells to change the roommate. They're tools to redirect your mind, reminding you that your essential nature, your changeless peace, is still intact, even amidst the chaos. You refuse to let the external define your internal state.
And that brings us to how we move from just understanding this intellectually to actually doing it. We can outline some steps for applying this acceptance in the moment.
Okay, let's structure this. 6 steps to move from recognizing peace abstractly to responding non-reactively in those difficult moments, like the roommate scenario or any other trigger.
Step 1. Pause before reacting. The instant you feel that wave of frustration or anger, just stop. Stop physically, stop mentally. Create even a tiny gap between the event, the mess, the comment, the traffic, and your automatic story about it. Remember, the disturbance starts in your mind's interpretation.
Step 2. Name the thought behind the feeling. What specific belief just got triggered? I'm being ignored. I'm trapped. They think I'm weak. Identify the interpretation causing the pain. Then immediately ask for a different perspective. Holy Spirit, show me another way to see this.
Step 3. Separate form from content. Clearly distinguish the external event, the form, words, messy room, from your internal reaction, the content, judgment, shame, blame. Deal with the practical form logically, but without the heavy emotional charge of the ego's content. Keep the action practical, not punitive.
Step 4. Choose action consciously. If you decide to take external action, clean, communicate, or set a boundary, check your motivation. Does it feel neutral, light, self-respecting, or does it feel heavy, resentful, like you're being a martyr? If it's the latter, it's ego-driven. Peaceful action feels like appropriate self-care or protection.
Step 5. Maintain your peace while addressing the form. If you set boundaries or take practical steps, do it from a place of calm awareness, not from an urge to control the other person. Your aim isn't to force change in them, but to protect your inner stability. Your peace cannot depend on their behavior changing.
Step 6. Reaffirm your function. When not, if the irritation or anger creeps back in, use your anchor lines internally. Repeat them to bring yourself back to center. Peace is my only function here. And nothing my brother does can change what I am.
Following these steps helps bridge the gap between knowing peace is available and actually experiencing it, living it in the midst of life's challenges.
So wrapping up today's exploration, let's reinforce the main takeaways. We've really highlighted the difference between the world's fragile, conditional peace and the changeless peace that is given, reminding you there's no need to endlessly chase temporary external fixes.
And we saw the mechanism. Peace arises directly from shifting your perception. It's a byproduct of actively choosing to use Christ's vision. This shift allows the world's problems, the noise, the fear, the mess, to depart in silence from your mind because you've withdrawn your judgment from them.
And ultimately, the lesson makes our task incredibly simple, though not always easy. Peace is guaranteed. It's already ours. Our only job is acceptance.
Which means consciously choosing, moment by moment, to let go of the ego's justifications for staying angry or feeling victimized or being afraid.
So for today, the practice is straightforward. Accept the peace that is already yours. Notice when you resist it and gently choose again.
And keep those anchor lines handy for when you're tempted by conflict. Peace is my only function here.
And nothing my brother or sister does can change what I am.
Thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow we'll look at Lesson 306. The gifts of Christ are all that I receive.
Until then, carry the peace you accepted today forward. We wish you peace.